All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Matt Gitzendanner. I work with UFIT Research Computing. And while I do, so I have an affiliate faculty position in the biology department where I teach credit-bearing courses, but most of what I do is informal training, not-for-credit kinds of things, mostly in the using Hypergator computing space and AI space. And so those are the kinds of things that I spend most of my time doing. And when the opportunity for these cafe conversations came up, I thought this sounded like an interesting topic, and hopefully we can have some discussions about what other people find, but I have some slides that I did go ahead and prepare, so maybe we'll start with those. If I can get my computer to, probably need to click somewhere. There we go, there, and then there we go. So one of the things that I find that's particularly relevant for AI is that it is a field that changes so rapidly that it's difficult. So I teach a course called AI in Biology, which I pretty much have to overhaul almost every year with the content. And so one of the advantages I find of kind of the shorter, not for credit opportunities is a little bit easier to keep those relevant and release newer content as new methods and approaches come out. But also then means that I think it's also important to help our learners learn how to learn on their own rather than, get away from, here is the class that we're going to walk you through everything, but okay, now you have this foundation, how can you take that to continue learning? Because it's one of these areas where things are going to change and we can't really cover everything anyway. So how can we enable them to continue with other courses, other online content, what have you? So that's, again, trying to make sure our learners are able to do that. One of the things I wanted to try and stress, one of the, I'll say that my experience is more on, backing up, so kind of thinking about AI training and how you want to use AI. I would say that there, in terms of the types of courses, there's courses that deal more with like using AI and AI interfaces. We'll talk a little bit about that, but then also courses for like coding AI, which is where I have more experience, but happy to try and come up with as much as we can about the kind of the other side of things, which is actually where we'll start. And I'll say that UFIT on our AI services page, we have a lot of good links to training on how to use tools like Copilot and Navigator and other kind of generative AI tools. And so that would be kind of where I would suggest starting if you're new to using an AI assistant and want help with generating prompts that are more likely to get you good results and things like that. They have there's a number of trainings there, and actually like a PDF that's a AI prompt cookbook that kind of walks you through some of the best ways to prompt these models to get good results back from them. But I'll also point out that NVIDIA, and I'll focus more on NVIDIA's trainings for the coding part, but they do have some trainings in their Deep Learning Institute that are focused more on the using the tools. And then I'll also say that a lot of the stuff that they cover is like they have a course on prompt engineering that uses prompts in a Jupyter notebook, so in a coding way. But if you just copy and paste the prompts that are in the code into Copilot or Navigator or whatever, they do the same thing. And so you can, in a lot of ways, use even some of the NVIDIA courses that may be geared more towards coding can also be used to help you think about how to prompt models just on the graphical interfaces that we're more used to, right? And then in terms of kind of developing AI tools, I'm biased towards the curriculum that we've been developing. So the Practicum AI is a set of courses that we're continuing to develop at Research Computing that have the goal of well, teaching you how to code AI algorithms with the assumption that you don't know anything about coding to start with, or AI to start with. So there's we have 4 courses online now that are what we call our beginner series. The first, well, I'll talk about the courses in a second.
Okay, I was like, I want to.
There is another slide here. Sorry, I'll come back to the details of that. And I'll just say that those are available either on our website at practicumai.org or the UF Professional Workforce Development. And I will get these slides to whoever I need to get these to send them out. Those are all links that go out to these sites. But again, just mentioning that NVIDIA, and we'll talk about some of the other places as well, but NVIDIA has a lot of great online courses as well. And as I'll mention, you can get a code to take any of those for free with our partnership with NVIDIA. But just focusing on the Practicum AI courses for a second, we have 4 courses online now, which are what we refer to as our beginner series. So the Getting Started with AI course doesn't have any coding. Trying to remember, I don't think it has any coding. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have any coding. It's just kind of a general introduction to what is AI, how can it be used, a little bit on AI ethics and a few other things like that. And then the Computing for AI course teaches a little bit about Git and GitHub, which is a tool for managing your code. And we kind of focus on that partially because in the later courses, we use that to kind of get you starter code and things like that. So knowing a little bit about how to use it is helpful. But then also to try and start people with best practices in coding and using version control and things like that. And then we have a course called Python for AI, which is a really stripped down version of what is the minimum amount of Python we can teach people so that they can still code AI applications. And our first version of this course included things like loops and conditionals and all your kind of classical programming kinds of things. And then we realized, especially with TensorFlow, we never really write a loop in any of the AI stuff that we do. So we don't need to teach you about loops. We never write if statements. So we don't need to teach you about conditionals. So we just kind of tried to make it as simple as possible, just to get a little bit of Python so that you can kind of see what the code is doing and start learning how to write Python code. And then the Deep Learning Foundations is the course that really then gets you into how do neural networks work and how do you write neural network code and train models and all that sort of stuff. And so that's those 4 courses, which again are either on our website or the UF Professional Workforce Development site. If you're at UF, there's a link on the left-hand side that takes you to a page that gives you the codes for faculty, staff, and students to take those for free. And then if you take all 4 of those, you get a certificate. And then we are just about to finish up. We've done it live a couple times and are about to start filming the videos for a computer vision course that kind of picks up from the Deep Learning Foundation and goes more into detail on convolutional neural networks and image classification and then object detection. So like drawing a box around different objects in images, and then image segmentation where we classify all the pixels in an image as belonging to different classes and things like that. So kind of building up a pretty good understanding of how computer vision tasks work. So hopefully our goal is to have that out by the end of the year and available for people. But the material, all the code and everything is on our GitHub site if you wanted to start looking at that. And then we have other courses that we're developing and always interested in seeing what people are interested in learning how to code. Right now we're working on a course on how you can use AI with various types of genetic data. So looking at protein folding as well as other applications of AI in genetics. part of that is motivated by, we have funding from the USDA Agricultural Research Service, so that's one of the things they're interested in, so we're doing that. And then we also have a course on using large language models, either with some of the like retrieval augmented generation, RAG, and things like that from the command line, as opposed to, or not from the command, but from code, as opposed to just the chat interface, right? So that's where those are going. A little bit more about the NVIDIA Deep Learning Institute. So they have a lot of these self-paced courses on their site at learn.nvidia.com. And as you see in the screenshot there, a lot of them are, well, some of them are free, but a lot of them are like $30 or $90. And again, we have a code, and any faculty can get a code, and I'll talk about that in a second, to make those available for free. So if you email me, I can provide you the code. Or if you're a faculty member, I'll show you how you can sign up to get your own code that you can provide your students, so that you can make any of those courses available for your students for free. And one of the other nice things about those courses is that NVIDIA pays for Amazon Web Services servers for the coding environment that you would use to work through the code in those courses. And so you get access to an environment that has GPUs and other, whatever resources they figure are needed to complete the code for these, you can get access to them. And so they have, I've got the deep learning tab linked there, but they have some generative AI looking at image generation, as well as the large language model things. And then graphics and simulation, looking at their Omniverse toolkit and, creating these digital twins and things like that. So there's a lot of different types of things that they have training on. And they're generally pretty good. The main reason why we developed the Practicum AI course is that we felt that those were too advanced for many of our users, and they needed kind of the ramp up to get to this. It's our beginner series, I think, gets you to where then these courses are a little more approachable. And then again, if you're faculty, if you go over to the educator programs tab on there, you can sign up for the teaching kits or the university ambassador program, and those provide you that code that you can provide your students so they can take the courses for free. As well as if you're teaching a course in an area like generative AI, deep learning, et cetera, the ones listed there, these teaching kits they've worked with faculty at different universities, and they have like lecture slide presentations and notes and quizzes and sample code and whatever that can, probably wouldn't just take them and use them for a course, but maybe give you some content to help you, I'm in a crunch time for a lecture on this topic. Let me see what they have. Or, I don't really know what to say about this topic. Let me see what they say, and kind of help develop a course, right? So that is there. And then, there are a lot of resources out there, many of which are free. Some have some cost, but we at the university have a lot of great resources available for free. But some of the ones that I have found to be particularly helpful, the deeplearning.ai has a really good AI for Everyone course. This is Andrew Ng's course. He's the founder, I think, of deeplearning.ai. They've also started a new Python course that focuses on using AI coding assistants to help you write your Python code as you learn how to code in Python. Hugging Face has a Learn section that has a lot of good courses, particularly dealing with language models and reinforcement learning. So if you're into how reinforcement learning can be used to train robots or virtual robots, they have a really good course on that. LinkedIn Learning, every chance I can get, I remind people that at UF we have free access to all the LinkedIn Learning courses. There are a lot of great courses there, including courses on AI, but just about any topic you can think of, especially related to computing. I think seems to be mostly like computing focused, but like, how to use Photoshop to do whatever, right? There's a lot of diversity of courses there, but it does include AI courses. and they're all free for University of Florida. And I don't know if it's still the case, but I think it was last year, the University of Florida was the #1 consumer of LinkedIn Learning courses. So that's, yeah. And then Microsoft, Google, and AWS all have courses as well. Microsoft just released, I believe, some new courses. I'm not sure we have free access to those, but I saw they just released some new courses on using Copilot, which we do have free access to. Their Copilot large language model system, and in releasing these courses, I guess they had got some feedback that Microsoft Copilot wasn't as good as OpenAI's ChatGPT, and they're like, no, you're just using it wrong. Here's the course. So,
yeah, I feel like there's different use cases for both.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. Supposedly they're using the same model, but I think there's definitely some differences in pre and post processing of what goes in and comes out of the models. But Google has some great courses as well. A lot of them are courses that they develop for onboarding their new programmers, and then they just make those available for free. But a lot of good courses there. And then AWS also has a learning section that uses SageMaker and some of their other resources as well. So I think those are all good places to check out. And I think that's all I have. Oh, yeah, right. So then, the important thing is, taking the first steps to start getting learning and using the tools and trying to explore more about where you can go and things like that. So that was kind of I think I was, 15-ish minutes of a quick introduction to some of the resources and things, and I'd be happy to start conversations about what other people have found useful, what people are looking for.
Do the practicum classes take?
So we tried to, so the question for those online is how long the practicum classes take, and we've tried to make them about 4 hours-ish per class.
Okay.
I think that's probably about what they are, especially the beginner classes, I think are about that, yeah.
Okay.
Do those classes assume prior programming knowledge?
They don't,
Okay.
especially the practicum ones, yeah, we don't assume any prior programming knowledge and try to make it approachable to beginners and, just start from the basics and go over things. The other thing I'll mention, Other thing I'll mention is with the practicum courses, so they're available on our website, they're available through the professional workforce development, and they're available in the Canvas Commons. So if you teach a course where you might want to incorporate, some basic Python programming or an introduction to AI or whatever, you can just import those modules right into your Canvas course. And so those are all available there.
Do you have like an instruction guide or like how to on doing the Canvas Commons?
I don't. That would be a good idea to add, though. Yeah, how to import your course, how to import our courses into your Canvas course. That would be
That might be something I will look into here.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, like you go to Canvas, you go to like import content and say you want to import it from Canvas Commons and search Practicum AI, and our courses are there, and you select what you want. But I have not done it personally, and
Okay.
It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Good deal.
Yeah, I was just thinking that in my Canvas course, there's certain sections like I teach an introduction to automation, and then we go from like a batch processing to a model building scenario, like visually to Python, and then kind of slowly show them the same assignment and how it changes.
Right.
And then it gets a tiny bit more advanced, but my class isn't a Python programming class, but
Right.
it's needed for the software that we use. But then at the end of all my modules, I always have a section called Give Me More. And that's where I would put like, I'll give it to this, where
Sure.
it would be like the AI and Python, like, and how to get to your information. So I would like to like add that to the bottom.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So you could either add it, import the course into your course and just kind of link to those pages in your Give Me More, or you can, just give them the code and say, go to professional workforce development. One of the advantages, I think, from sending students to the professional workforce development is that when they complete the courses there, they get a badge.
Yeah.
A digital
Yeah, that's
badge.
nice.
I think that that would be my preferred to like have that, because then if I'm importing your course, then each semester I have to go and import to stay and keep
Yeah,
it up rather
right,
than
yeah.
sending them to the latest
Right.
and greatest.
Yeah.
So one question I have, and this is for anybody, is how do we engage students who may be in non-STEM fields with AI and
Right,
showing them the
right.
importance of it and how it can be useful in their fields?
That's a good question, and I mean, diverting away from the not for credit part, I teach a 1 credit class called Frontiers of AI that is basically a once a week seminar class that mostly is just getting faculty from around campus that use AI in their research to come and talk about what they do. And no coding, try and keep it very non-technical and just kind of get people interested in how can AI be used, and very intentionally try and get faculty from all across campus and different fields. Like, where do you think AI is not used? And then find faculty in that field that are using it. So that's one way. And then, we've tried, I don't know how successful we were, but we were trying to make the practicum AI courses approachable and useful for non-STEM students as well, right? But how successful, I don't know. We generally get good feedback, but we don't know how much other feedback there might have been.
I think another great approach that I've seen at UF is some of the Quest classes that are around
Yeah.
the big question.
Right.
Really have majors from all different areas that are engaging with a real world problem that AI is a potential solution, and kind of brings them into thinking about how AI might apply to their real lives.
Yeah, so those classes, as well as I want to say they're out of the College of Business, but there's some classes that are like a hands-on, project-based class that intentionally brings in people from computer science and medicine and business and different fields and says, here's a project. And a lot of those are linked to projects from industry partners.
Yes.
Like this partner needs this done. Here's your team of people with diverse skill sets. Go work on this.
Yes.
So that kind of class, I think, would be helpful and really cool as well. I
Yeah.
don't have the opportunity to teach that, but
I think they've been called, are they AI iCure classes? It's like AI industries undergraduate research.
could be,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think they are.
yeah. So I think there's like these, I think there's ones that are just iCure, like industry course undergraduate research experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
And
But
then
then
there's
there's the
also
AI
AI iCure.
gotcha.
Yeah, and I've also seen some faculty have gotten like a grant, and then they take a course of 20 students to help them work on the data from that grant using AI, which is an interesting,
Yeah,
Emma Mackay has one in fall right now where the students are analyzing her data from glaciers
yeah,
in
that's what she studies,
in
yeah.
Greenland. I think something like
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so like working on actual real world data. And I think she said students come from different disciplines that are
Cool.
interested. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know about that one.
So are there either here or online people that have, found other online not-for-credit courses that they would recommend or find helpful?
So don't quote me on this, but if you are a student and you are taking GIS classes, we have access to some extra classes with ESRI,
Right,
and they have new Geo AI products, such as the image classification that you talked about, where they would pull roadways out of aerial imagery
Right.
where they didn't have roads before, or create building footprints where they didn't have building footprints before, or do, say, vegetation analysis using just aerial imagery or satellite imagery. And so they have machine learning built in to their software now. And so I believe that they have some classes that they'll introduce you to that. I don't know which ones are free for students to take in addition to their GIS courses they're already taking through their GIS professors, and which ones would cost additional money at like a student rate.
Gotcha.
We also have a question from the audience.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the IBM Watson courses?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about those. I haven't personally looked at them that much, but that would probably be another good source to look at. Yeah, I had just, when I was putting that together, I hadn't thought about that one, yeah. Yeah, sorry. I guess also building on the Esri courses, if you're using software, like if you teach a course using MATLAB, all the MATLAB has a lot of, or MathWorks, whatever, has a lot of trainings for MATLAB and AI and whatever. And so again, trying to use some of those resources as well would be good ways to get additional content for your students.
Going back to engaging non-STEM majors, I know that we have the hackathon coming up soon for AI Days in October.
Okay.
And I think that also drew in a bunch of students from different disciplines, and you can form teams with, people that have different skills. I think that the group that won was not from a computer science background last year. They did water
Yeah, right, yes, that's right.
stuff.
The
So
water, where's my water thing?
Yeah. And I think it's also just an interesting idea to kind of maybe even have like a hackathon type assignment in a course in any discipline where you can use like generative AI to help you get to a solution or prototype faster.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I tell in all my courses, I tell the students to use generative AI as much as possible and try and demonstrate how it can be used. And so through the university, we've got not only Microsoft Copilot, but then all the Navigator resources. And so large set of different models that you can select from, and just telling students that these are there, and that I don't think, like when I teach coding now, well, I mean, even historically, I always said, just use Google to answer your questions. Now it's like, just use AI to answer your questions. That once you have a general framework of how things more or less work, and you do need that, I think. The future is not like trying to memorize, how do I do this, but like, how do I tell the AI assistant what I'm looking for, and then look at that and say, yeah, that looks right, or oh, that's wrong. I need to rephrase how I'm doing that. And that writing code from scratch is not something that people will be doing much longer.
So even PK, I don't know if you have, but my daughter's at my last child that is not a grown-up, although she's a grown-up, she was 18.
Okay.
Was doing her resume this morning and she's like, yeah, I have an AI certificate from PK. And I was like, really? So I need to ask her what that is, because PK is now doing that too. Which is really good,
Yeah.
these little 12th graders, especially, her, she's definitely not like, she's not somebody who you would want to or care about, computers or AI or anything like that. So to have her not feel overwhelmed, it wasn't like something that she came in and said, somebody's making us do this horrible thing. It was,
Right.
well, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I have some kids who are like, just give me a paper book, which I know makes me sound yeah.
I was gonna say, what where was I going to point to for that? I don't know. So with the, actually, I guess back on the AI, way back, on the courses and things that are on the AI services page, I think a lot of their trainings in particular are good for like people that they don't want to write code. They want to, they've heard about ChatGPT and all these AI assistants. How can I actually use this for something useful other than just, tell me about whatever, right? So I think they have some good trainings and suggestions on how to write prompts that will get you, something useful out of them, and how to use the tools effectively. Because the tools are there, and I think are only going to continue, well, getting better, but being used more. And they're also, while they try to present themselves as, all you do is type something in and it gives you amazing results. It takes some practice to get something useful out of the tools.
Yeah, I would say CITT has a really good series of workshops on AI.
Yeah.
And I was just watching one yesterday. It was like the style of a cooking show.
Yes, yeah.
And there's a cookbook of prompts that can be used in like an academic context for teaching, right? So definitely something I would recommend folks take advantage of.
Yeah, and I think in that prompt cookbook, I think one of the use cases they go into is like, okay, I'm studying whatever it is, some topic in my English class or whatever. You can start with the tell me about it, and then you can be, okay, I think I understand this. Can you write 10 multiple choice questions about this topic? And then it will write the questions. So it varies every time I do it. It gives me, either it'll tell me what the answer is right off the bat, or it'll actually just give me the questions and then wait for me to answer the questions. But you can then answer the questions. And I always tell students, just because it says that's the right answer, it does not mean it really is. So you really need to make sure you're, double check that it's accurate in its responses. Because
do you have any resources? I know, like when I go to Navigator AI and I look at all the different models.
Oh yeah.
Is there any resources on when I might want to prefer one particular model over another?
Yes.
Because I think everybody just sort of defaults to ChatGPT. Maybe, I don't know. That's what I do.
Yeah. So let me see if I can get that screen up there.
Yeah, I was having the same thought process where I was like making a grid, like if you had just type like a large language model versus say like a Photoshop scenario versus like a deep learning, like Python programming, like, and then the use cases, where should you be going and what should you be using, and then.
And I do know that they will have an online training on that soon in the next like couple weeks or so. Like a asynchronous guide of like which model to choose, and also the different settings I know can be overwhelming, like when you need to set the temperature or custom instructions.
I haven't even touched
prompt keywords, maybe that would be really good, like the top 10 prompt keywords. Yeah,
similar to the prompt cookbook, they're currently working on common faculty use cases for teaching and learning, and how to override the custom instructions to have instructions that you can use. And those are all exportable. So like if you do write custom instructions for your class, you can export and share that with your class so that they're doing the same thing in Navigator that you want them to do.
Yeah. So I pulled up the it.ufl.edu/AI page, and I'm sharing that, I think. Although I don't see no, it does say I'm screen sharing, right? Well, hang on a second. Yes, I am sharing that. Okay. Go away. All right, got Zoom panels after Zoom panels. So the first thing, just point out the three different services: Navigator AI, which is our kind of in-house interface to a lot of different models, both models that run on HyperGator locally, as well as models that go out to OpenAI or Google or Amazon that the university is currently paying the cost of. And then Microsoft Copilot, which is free and included in your Office subscription, essentially. And then the AI application toolkit is if you're interested in using these models programmatically, it gives you an API key to essentially query the models that are available in the open, in the AI Navigator. Before I go and show the Navigator and get back to your question about which models to use, additional resource, no. Teaching learning tools, there's a lot of good information there. UF Tech Bytes is, again, a lot of good information here. Applying AI in your course assignments coming up, but there are this Take to the Skies with AI Navigator was a really good session. Lots of resources available there. Here's that AI prompt cookbook that we've mentioned a few times, as well as a link to get a consultation with CITT staff that can help you with some of these things. But just have a look through these. I think there are a lot of really good resources there, kind of on that first using language models from an interface as opposed to coding things, right? And then there was a question a little bit with more information about Navigator. So there is a little video with a little description of Navigator. And then these are the different models that are available, which is a lot of models, and I think overwhelming. And
Yes.
I think
Yes.
yes, right? So like, well, why do I have all these models, and what is the difference, and why do I want to use one or the other?
Yes.
So to one extent, there is no one best model. So playing with them and seeing which works better for you is probably a good thing. The ones on Hypergator cost the university nothing to run, so that might be a good cost savings. There is no per token cost for running any of these, but Llama is the model that Meta produces. And then within a model, the 88B, 70B, et cetera, is the number of parameters. So the bigger models typically give you better results, but sometimes take longer. And then if you're paying for them, can cost more to run. But
have an energy.
And have, yes, right.
If you care about environmental
if you want to
impact.
consider the environmental impact, yes, so it uses more compute resources for a larger model to be to serve a response to, yes.
That's just a common question we get from the general areas.
Yeah, there is
ethics.
nothing green about AI computing it is hugely computationally and power hungry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the Llama models are the ones from Meta. I don't even remember who some of these other models are from, but some other models. The Azure models are all the GTP models that go to essentially OpenAI. Why you would I don't know why we even have 3.5 anymore, given that it's older, and you probably would go with a 4 or a 4.0. And again, the mini is a smaller model, potentially less compute resources and less reply faster. So you might if you're trying to do something quickly, you might get faster responses, but I don't really ever notice that they're taking a long time anyway, right?
Fast.
And I'll just say that the Dolly is an image generation one, and I can show you that if you want. Then the Google models, and then the models at least provided by Amazon. I don't think they develop these, to be honest. And then the names are, I don't know how they name all these things, to be honest, but largely just some differences. I don't really know, to be honest, the differences between all the Claude. Even I can't keep track of all the different models, right? Everybody claims their model is the best, right? And then one of the nice things I think about using Navigator versus some of the other, type your interface kind of things is that you have control over some of the parameters, and there's some information about those settings there. So I'll just kind of quickly go into, I have to log in. Which one? Oh, it's not even gonna make me, okay. So make this a little bigger. So here's kind of your chat interface. We can tell me about informal. See what we get. Go. Didn't even get into all the MOOCs that are out there. There are a lot of university, Stanford and other, kind of name brand AI, MIT have courses that are out there and mostly free, I think, right? There are some good books out there. A lot of what I try to get across to people is that, after you've taken some of the courses and kind of understand how things work, then it's easier to, go to a blog and read what they did and try and implement that on your own. Or go to, code on GitHub or Kaggle and see what other people did and how you might be able to implement that. But yeah, so, a reasonable answer. Probably should have started with that, right? So let's see, I have it set to use the Llama 3.1, which is Meta's latest version, and then the 8 billion parameter version. But you can, in here, you can use that drop down to select any different model. I'll just say that the difference between these, there's a couple of them that have NIM in front of them. That just means that it's essentially the same model, but being served by an NVIDIA platform, essentially, and
Optimized.
optimized, right? This is all marketing stuff, and press release saying that the University of Florida is using NVIDIA NIMs. There we go. So it's there. You can use it. But again, pick any of those models. And it's the same interface, so that's kind of the nice thing, right? So if I want to use GPT-4 Turbo, I don't have to go to a new site or anything. I can just change the model. And now, instead of running my query locally on HyperGator, it's going to send it to Microsoft. And again, the university is covering the costs associated with that for now anyway, right? But then we talked a little bit about how we have the access to the different parameters, and so you can adjust things like temperature, which controls how creative versus more conservative, I guess, the model is, and more creative can give you some interesting prose if that's what you're after, but maybe some more hallucinations, right? And then some of do we take the most so all these models essentially are just picking the most likely word in the next, completing the next word that's the most likely. And by adjusting the top P, you can take maybe not the most likely, but the third most likely word, right? Give you some variation in things. And so all these are different parameters that you can put in there. And then you can also do things like Margot, I think, was mentioning how you can add some custom instructions. And so we can say you are how about a physics teacher who never answers questions if I can type directly, and tells people to look up the answer in your notes.
I know that online we have a lot of nursing faculty. And so I also love this as a very lean way to build a virtual patient, which I think is a regular.
I know, I think it's CITT that did the work, both I've heard of both the interviewing a patient where you give it the description of what the patient is, and then the student comes, they don't see that, and then their job is to ask the questions that will elucidate the information that they're supposed to get from this patient to then say, whatever they're supposed to do. There's also an example of that was set up for jury selection, where they, again, write out a more detailed prompt than I have here, but some background information about a juror, and then the students task is to ask questions and elucidate the information of why they would or would not want this person on their jury.
Yeah.
So I think these are great ways that you can kind of make some of these tools and set up these personalities or whatever that then can help your students interact with the models in a way that would be hard to replicate, especially in a larger class, right?
And of course, those are much more complex than just this, but this would be a very lean, easy way to do it and then export for your student.
Right,
It's a
right.
preset.
Yeah. So I don't know how this is going to work, but we'll see. It probably helps if I type physics correctly, but let's see. So I will save that. I'll go with physics. Save. Tell me about the theory of relativity. Discussed this I discussed this in great detail on my previous lectures, and I gave you great notes on this. Go look it up, right? So, crazy example off the top of my head, but as we discussed, there are some better uses of those custom prompts. But, again, using tools like this, you have a greater ability to control that kind of thing than if you just go to OpenAI or whatever.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, I guess, we are out of time. There's still only.
I wanted to be mindful of your time.
Right,
You came here and we
Yeah, no
really
problem.
appreciate it.
Sure.
It's always informative and it's super nice to see you in person.
All right.
And
well,
thank
thanks
you everyone
joining.
for joining online.
Well, thanks for joining, and I'm sure you'll hear about future
Yes.
conversations that come up. All right.
Thank you.
Did we need to sign in anywhere?
Yes, but our iPad has not been working. Which is why we've been doing paper.
There was supposed to be something up front. I don't know if it was a QR code to scan or what.
I got the snacks. I didn't see a code.
I mean, snacks are the important thing, so.
Yeah.
I got the coffee, so.